Jackie Sandberg, please come to the stage. Jackie Sandberg to the stage.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody. I hope you feel alive. Let's start by singing I've Got Peace Like a River. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. Well, I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. And I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. And I've got pain like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Conger, your lay leader this morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane. We're glad to have you with us. UUCS is a welcoming congregation, and we appreciate your unique backgrounds, beliefs, or lifestyle. If you're one of our longtime members or have been here a short time, or if you're joining us today for the very first time, we're delighted to have you with us. We also appreciate those of you Zooming or streaming our services. It is our mission to join together to create a nourishing liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in the wider world, or in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. We welcome all, including our special guest speaker, Reverend Craig Moro, speaking with us via Zoom from Oregon. Reverend Moro is a graduate of the University of Chicago and Starr King School for the Ministry. He has lived and studied in India, Singapore, Thailand, the Netherlands, and Japan. He has served churches in California, Illinois, and the Pacific Northwest, and is a founding member of the Tri-Cities Interfaith Alliance in Washington. He now lives in Portland, where he was recently been named Minister Emeritus after serving Y East UU congregation for 6 years. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Moro. Please take a few moments now to greet one another and connect. Be sure and say hello to someone you haven't met yet. Thank you. We'll have more time following the service to greet one another and share stories over coffee. Now is the time for our informal greeting. We now turn from our informal greeting of one another to formally begin our service by lighting our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, the symbol of our unity and solidarity, of our openness and inclusion, of our community and individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and it may reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost. The sermon today is from a poem by Donald Hall, the Ox Cart Man. Our opening words for this Labor Day weekend are also from a poem, To Be of Use by Marge Piercy. The people I love the best jump into work head first without. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again, row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm. It smears the hands, crumbles to dust, but the thing worth doing well done has a shape that satisfies, clean, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. We're gonna keep on till we make it. There is more love somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. We're gonna keep on till we make it, 'cause there is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. We're gonna keep on till we make it, 'cause there is more joy somewhere.
Each time we gather as a congregation, there are always those who are with us in our minds and hearts and who we want to wrap in our love and care. We kindle light this morning for all those suffering in the war between Russia and Ukraine, for all those suffering in the volatile Middle Eastern conflicts, especially those living in Gaza, for those living in apprehension of ICE agents seizing them without due process, for the homeless and unsheltered. Let us share a moment in silence, embracing others who are here in our hearts this morning. You are welcome to say their names aloud as you are willing. Those named aloud and those remembered in the silence, and all those who are suffering elsewhere in our world this hour, we hold in our community of compassion. Our offertory this morning is a little bit different. You know how coins can rattle around in your pocket or weigh down your purse? Well, this morning we invite you to put all of that loose change into our collection baskets. Instead of being a nuisance, your nickels, dimes, and quarters can help make a real difference for real change for our community and our congregation. And there's a nifty coin bank at our maker's table in the back if you want to add more change. This is part of our fundraising campaign. Let us see how much this effort can raise for us. We now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which sustains this community and its mission to the larger world. I believe Reverend Moro is going to do our time for all ages. In just a moment.
Ox Cart Man by Donald Hall, and the pictures are Barbara Cooney. And I'm getting an echo. Is there a way we can change that?
I'm not sure they hear us. Oh, no, I hear myself. So, okay, I can just. Mute that.
So let's see. Have we solved the echo problem?
Go ahead.
There we go. I think that's working okay now. So Donald Hall, pictures by Barbara Cooney, one of my favorite readings. And it begins in the middle of stuff. It begins in the middle of things. Here's a picture. See that? Now, normally in churches, I would usually have the kids kind of gathered around me in a little circle, and I'd sit in the middle. But this is a little bit awkward. Working from my son's office, it's not the same. But in October, he backed his ox into his cart, and he and his family filled it up with everything they made or grew all year long that was left over. Here's the next phase. So, let's see if we can keep this in the frame. So he packed a bag of wool he sheared from the sheep in April. He packed a shawl his wife wove on a loom from yarn spun on the spinning wheel from sheep sheared in April. He packed 5 pairs of mittens his daughter knit from yarn spun at the spinning wheel from sheep sheared in April. Remember, it's starting in October, but it really starts back in April, doesn't it? Or does it ever really start or ever really stop? He packed candles the family made. He packed linen made from the flax they grew. He packed shingles that he split himself. He packed birch brooms his son carved with a borrowed kitchen knife. He packed potatoes they dug from the garden. He packed, but first he counted out potatoes enough to eat all winter and potatoes for seed next spring. He packed a barrel of apples, honey and honeycombs, turnips and cabbages, a wooden box of maple sugar from the maples they tapped in March when they boiled the sap away. He packed a bag of goose feathers that his children collected from the barnyard geese. There they are. And nothing's going to waste. When his cart was full, he waved goodbye to his wife, his daughter, and his son, and he walked at his ox's head for 10 days over hills, through valleys, by streams, past farms and villages. Looks like New England to me. Until he came to Portsmouth and Portsmouth Market. You see these little alcoves here that have been set up for people to bring to markets, like they've got a covering in case it starts to rain or something. He sold the bag of wool, he sold the shawl his wife made, he sold 5 pairs of mittens, he sold candles and shingles, he sold birch brooms, he sold potatoes, he sold apples, he sold honey and honeycombs, turnips and cabbages, he sold maple sugar, he sold a bag of goose feathers. Mm-hmm. But all our people gathered to buy those things. Then he sold the wooden box he carried the maple sugar in. He sold the barrel he carried the apples in. And he sold the bag he carried the potatoes in. And then he sold his ox cart. That's interesting. And then, can you guess what? He sold his ox and kissed it on the nose goodbye. Then he sold his ox's yoke and harness. With his pocket full of coins, he walked through Portsmouth Market. He bought an iron kettle to hang over the fire at home. And for his daughter, he bought an embroidery needle that came from a boat in the harbor that had sailed all the way from England. And for his son, he bought a Barlow knife for carving birch brooms with. And for the whole family, he bought 2 pounds of wintergreen peppermint candies. Then he walked home with the needle and the knife and the wintergreen peppermint candies tucked into the kettle, and a stick over his shoulder, stuck through the kettle's handle, and coins still in his pockets. You can see the trees have gotten a little bit bare. 10 days, 20 days total in the fall can make a huge bit of difference. Past farms and village, over hills, through valleys, by streams, until he came to his farm, and his son, his daughter, and his wife were waiting for him. Oh, see, it's gotten much barer now. And then his daughter took her needle and began stitching. His son took his Barlow knife and started whittling. And they cooked dinner in their new kettle, and afterward everyone ate a wintergreen peppermint candy. And that night the ox cart man sat in front of his fire, stitching new harness for the young ox in the barn. The young ox in the barn. So that wasn't his only ox, the one that he sold, right? And he carved a new yoke and sawed planks for a new cart and split shingles all winter. And I want to dwell on this picture a little bit. See this thing he's sitting on? It's called a shave horse. And that's a really nice thing. It's like a vise, but you hold it with your feet. You can turn things around and move them real easily. And the tool he's using is called a draw knife. And that's one of my favorite tools to use. This one's about 100 years old or more, and I use it all the time. It's such a pleasure to sit at the shave horse and shape wood on the draw knife. I make things for a martial arts studio. Well, and he did that while his wife made flax into linen all winter, and his daughter embroidered linen all winter, and his son carved Indian brooms from birch all winter, and everyone made candles. The whole family made candles. And in March, they tapped the maple trees and boiled the sap down. March. And in April, they sheared the sheep and wove and spun and knitted. Took that winter coat off the sheep, right? When you get the most wool. And in May, they planted potatoes, turnips, and cabbages, while apple blossoms bloomed and fell, while bees woke up and started making new honey. And geese squawked in the barnyard, dropping feathers soft as clouds. And that's the end of our story. So I hope that you enjoy whatever activities you're going to do now, in case there are actually any kids there. And I hope that everyone who was there enjoyed that story. It's just really a fine one.
I think Reverend Moro is also going to do our meditation.
I am. Well, I want to start by thanking those whose patient work made this service possible. We're getting that echo again. Can we solve that echo?
Got it. Go ahead.
Got it. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much, those who worked to make this service possible. We had a couple of glitches. We forgot that Zoom doesn't normally start this early in the year. But we got it all together. And I want to thank everybody who chose to come here today when there's so many other great things you could be doing on Labor Day weekend. You chose to come together to this place. This place that we remember that we live and that we die, and all those important things that help us to live a little bit better. Okay, so about my ministry, I've mentioned how I like to sit in that circle with the kids, but when possible, I also like to read two versions of the same story, when those are available. A children's version for the sprites and an adult version for the rest of us. So now, after sharing Donald Hall's little book, Ox Cart Man, for the kids, and for the big kids, I'll be reading Donald Hall's original poem. Here's his ox cart man as it first appeared in the New Yorker magazine. In October of the year, he counts potatoes dug from the brown field. And you listen for some of the slight differences between the two versions. Counting the seed, counting the seller's portion out, and bags the rest on the cart's floor. He packs wool sheared in April, honey and combs, linen, leather tanned from deer hide, and vinegar in a barrel, hooped by hand at the forge's fire. He walks by his ox's head 10 days to Portsmouth Market and sells potatoes, and the bag that carried potatoes, flaxseed, birch brooms, maple sugar, goose feathers, yarn. When the cart is empty, he sells the cart. When the cart is sold, he sells the ox, harness and yoke, and walks home, his pockets heavy with the year's coin for salt and taxes. Salt and taxes. And at home by fire's light in November cold, stitches new harness for next year's ox in the barn, and cars the yoke, and saws planks for building the cart again. What a lovely portrait of work well done and a year well spent in healthy, productive labor. It's a perfect poem for Labor Day. Let's return to it soon and work our way inside more deeply after we hear this song. The Big Rock Candy Mountain by Harry McClintock.
All right, thank you. And this is at Reverend Moro's request. One evening as the sun went down and the jungle fire was burning, down the track came a hobo hiking. He said, boys, I'm not turning. I'm headed for the land that's far away beside the crystal fountains. So come with me, we'll go and see Big Rock Candy Mountain. In the Big Rock Candy Mountains, there's a land that's fair and bright, where the handouts grow on bushes and you sleep out every night, where the boxcars are all empty and the sun shines every day on the birds and the bees and the cigarette trees and the lemonade springs, where the bluebird sings in the Big Rock Candy Mountain. In the Big Rock Candy Mountains, all the cops have wooden legs, and the bulldogs all have rubber feet, and the teeth they farmers' trees are full of fruit, and the barns are full of hay. Oh, I'm bound to go where there ain't no snow, where the rain don't fall and the wind don't blow, in the Big Rock Candy Mountain. In the Big Rock Candy Mountains, you never change your socks, and little streams of alcohol come a-trickling down the rocks, and the brakemen have to tip their hats, and the railroad bulls are blind. There's a lake of stew and some whiskey too. You can paddle all around in a big canoe in the Big Rock Candy Mountains. In the Big Rock Candy Mountains, the jails are made of tin, and you can walk right out again as soon as you are in. There ain't no short-handled shovels, no axes, picks, or saws. I'm gonna stay where you sleep all day, where they hung the jerk that invented work, in the Big Rock Candy Mountains. See you all this coming fall in the Big Rock Candy Mountains.
Now, some of you might have, as kids, heard the Burl Ives version, which is a little bit sanitized. I think we would have appreciated it, but what a song. Well, maybe you reached sweet sex 16 and had never been kissed. Maybe you hadn't met the right person or weren't even thinking about such things yet, but one thing's for sure, you were starting to think about your driver's license. At least you were back when I was 16. All my friends were. None of them were what you would call car crazy like some kids, but they felt the pull of increased mobility that the car could confer on a licensed driver. We didn't have a shopping mall in our town. The nearest one was closer than Oxcart Man's 10-day walk to Portsmouth, but still too far to reach on foot unless you planned to camp there and go home the next morning. I wanted my license, but was not overly eager for it. Shortly after getting hers, my sister had damaged our dad's car by dragging the side along the "May I have your order" intercom box at a fast food place. I remember the horrible scraping sound that seemed to go on forever as the white door creased and lost its paint. Well, shortly after this, not caused by this, our father suddenly died. Then after a few months of getting fattened up by my Italian grandmother, my uncle's family had taken us in, and I dreaded doing damage to his car as I started driver's education. He ran a gas station when those still did most auto repairs. I'm sure he could have fixed it, but how would I live it down? Still, he was insistent that I go ahead and complete the process after finishing driver's ed. Some of my friends who cared much more about driving had taken 2 or 3 times to pass the test. Maybe because I was less invested in it, I was a little calmer, though my heart was hammering when the examiner, a huge scary man about whom I've been warned, better hope you don't get that guy, pointed out a couple of minor mistakes I'd made. Then he said, "Okay, go and get your license." Well, my uncle had driven me over, but now he offered to let me drive home. I felt pretty drained, so he took the wheel instead. "So what are your plans for the weekend?" he asked. In my altered state of consciousness, I wasn't really sure, so I said, "I don't know, maybe I could borrow the car and go to the mall or something," forgetting that the gas station was open that day and he would need it. He said, "No, that's not what you'll be doing. Starting Saturday, you've got a job." He needed someone to work the drive, pump gas, pull cars into the service bays, pull them out and park them, maybe even drive a customer home and then go get them when their car was done. That person had to be able to drive legally. That person now was me. How could I say no? My uncle and aunt had been so kind to take me and my sister in when they still had a daughter at home, to add us to their family and care for all of our needs. I wanted to help him with his work, and I quickly grew to enjoy it. My friends at the time were the high school poets, artists, rebels, folk musicians, all from white-collar homes. I acquired a certain cool that came with wearing my blue-collared gas station shirt with the name Ron over the pocket. Everyone called me Ronnie, and I enjoyed this alter ego. When my Craig shirts finally came in, I found reasons not to wear them. I loved being Ron when my friends came for gas. Being Ron gave Craig a rest after all the changes that kid had been through. I wish I'd kept my Ron shirts, but this tag will have to do for today. Can I fill her up for you today? I also enjoyed the work, even though it paid $1.69 an hour. Even when it became full-time over the summer, 10 hours, 6 days a week, 15 hours if a night shift guy got. And I enjoyed meeting the cops, some of whom had also worked at my uncle's station when they were younger. I enjoyed meeting guys from the other side of the law, guys who knew guys who did all sorts of things. I was offered expensive hi-fi equipment at a very low price, but you got to take 50 of them, Ronnie. Keep one, unload the rest, and make some real money for a change. My well-bred suburban friends loved the stories, and I loved telling them. But most of all, I loved the way the work made me feel connected. I lived as a sort of white-collar kid myself till I was 15. My dad had started out working in his father's barber shop, Italian immigrant, but then became a lawyer. How could I have helped him with that work, with the law, right? Or even understood it? Same thing for my friends. So I felt like the lucky kid. I saw how helping my uncle helped the whole household, the economy, and the spirit of our home. For the broader community, we helped keep the police cars moving in pursuit of the outlaws, who also bought our gas and sometimes tried to sell us stuff they'd stolen. It all connected. Not quite like it does for the oxcart man and his family, but better than anything I'd known before. It's a feeling that's hard to come by. That's why the oxcart man's story makes me both happy and sad. My heart aches with longing at the perfect economy in the life of that family. They care for everything, yet they are attached to no one thing except their life together. Materials and animals are flowing through the household constantly. Make the goods, take them to market in the cart pulled by the ox, sell them, sell the cart, sell the ox. Walk home and start the process all over again. Everyone contributing, everything coordinated. How could you say no to work like this? But how can you find such work these days? A few years back, I met an amazing guy named Carson who teaches bow making, this kind, to students from around the country and sells his handmade custom bows around the world. I was delighted to see how his kids played around his workshop, how they understood what Daddy does and could see how he does it, working at a shave horse just like the ox cart man's. One day they might just do it too. Who knows? But this is something rare today, when work and home, adult and child, can seem so very disconnected. Now, some people imagine that people would not work at all if they could avoid it. There's a poem from Europe in the 1300s that imagines a land called Caucania, where no one needs to work, where poultry and fish, are found pre-cooked and pre-seasoned, and a house has many rooms and halls, pies and pastries form the walls, made with rich fillings, fish and meat, the tastiest a man could eat. Flour cakes are the shingles all, of cloister, chamber, church, and hall. The nails are puddings, rich and fat. Kings and princes might dine on that. Quaint. You just heard an American hobo song by Harry McClintock, who went by the handle Haywire Mac. It's about the Big Rock Candy Mountains, where you never change your socks and the little streams of alcohol come trickling down the rocks. The brakemen have to tip their hats to the wandering homeless men. The railroad bulls are blind, right? The agents, the security agents. There's a lake of stew and of whiskey too. You can paddle around it in a big canoe in the Big Rock Candy Mountains. In the Big Rock Candy Mountains, the jails are made of tin, and you can walk right out again as soon as you walk in. There ain't no short-handled shovels, no axes, saws, nor picks. I'm bound to stay where you sleep all day, where they hung the jerk that invented work in the Big Rock Candy Mountains. I don't think that work itself is the problem here. It's lousy work, ill-equipped and ill-paid work that pays enough to survive, but not much more after taxes. I'm surprised that Haywire Mac had nothing to say about taxes, though I guess hobos didn't pay them. Have you ever seen an I Heart Taxes bumper sticker? Why, here's one. You can imagine somebody tuning in and saying, look, the liberals love taxes. Anyway, you're more likely to see a bumper sticker that says, I hate Jesus or I hate babies. Nobody loves or even likes taxes, but you might have noticed that the oxcart man budgets for them in the poem for adults. As he walks home, his pockets heavy with the year's coin for salt and taxes. I like that. Salt and taxes. The children's story puts wintergreen candy in those pockets, sweet and delightful, but salt and taxes, that's a more mature taste. One connects us back to life's origin in the ocean, and the other connects us with others. with their work and their lives, and keeping up the commons that we share, like roads and bridges and waterways and those beautiful covered spaces for the market in Portsmouth. And then there's the help we'll need in hard times or old age. Someday, all that sawing and walking and stitching will be too much for Mr. and Mrs. Oxcart, and who knows if their children will have survived to help them. Taxes can help provide some sort of, what should we call it? How about a kind of social security? But some people see all taxes as a form of stealing, and some have spent years on the TV, radio, or internet persuading us to see them that way too. That's their work, I guess, serving up a sort of mental fast food. It's always the same sandwich. Love religion, so long as it's the Jesus religion. Hate taxes and liberals, and love guns. I don't know if that's a hate sandwich or a love one, but I do know that it has many eager consumers. Most seem unaware that Jesus himself had a soft spot for tax collectors. The Apostle Matthew made his living as one. You know, the guy who wrote the first book of the Jesus part of the Bible. He was a publican, from a Latin word that meant of the people. Publicans were private contractors, small businessmen, who collected money on behalf of the Roman government in occupied Palestine. Later, in Europe, they were known as tax farmers, and they got to keep a percentage of whatever they collected in the name of the crown or the local lord. Some were honest, but many were corrupt, often using violence or the threat of violence to enrich themselves. Tax farming was tried briefly in the United States under Ulysses S. Grant's administration. Though it proved a dismal failure in the 1870s, a recent administration, can't seem to remember the name of the guy, proposed to bring it back again in 2004. And who knows what we'll see in the near future, especially if there's ever something like a tax revolt by those states that pay in more than they take out of the current system, like Washington and California do, among others. St. Matthew probably packed a weapon when he went out to tax farm, or called armed men for help when he met with resistance. So I can imagine a hit reality show built on this premise, something like Cops or Dog the Bounty Hunter. How about Publican Posse, featuring shootouts between private tax collectors and tax resistors, with everyone shielded from prosecution by the spread of stand your ground laws that let you shoot if you feel threatened. And what's more threatening than taxes? What a show that could be. Pow, 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 pay up now. Rat-a-tat-a-tat, I ain't doing that. Could we make taxation popular by making it a spectacle? That's what sells these days. Or maybe it would be better to make it meaningful, like it is for the oxcart man, his pockets heavy with the year's coin for salt and taxes. We feel that the case for their benefit has been made for him in a clear and sober way, much better than it has been made for us. We need to do a better job with this so we can all feel like he does. The taxes are part of the flow of economy and life in a world we share with others. Much better job. From the time we enter school or before. You should know that both the Federal Reserve and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau have done a good job creating their own online lessons for kids based on the Oxcart Man picture book. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, I think, has been busted, right? But their lessons are still up online. We've got to do a better job with this. But speaking of jobs, if Social Security gets gutted like so much else, and I have to go back to work until I die, I hope I can find work like the Oxcart Man's. It doesn't sound easy, but it feels complete, completely integrated from day to day, year to year, and person to person. I know that he's an imaginary figure, but he's a powerful one because there's something about his family's life that feels so possible. We may not know anyone quite like this family, but there's also something so familiar about them. We feel that life and work could be like this. Seems like it used to be, at least for some of us. Maybe it can be again for more of us in time, if we know that this is what we really want from our jobs. So how does your work feel to you? That's a good thing to think about on Labor Day weekend with a day off work today and maybe one tomorrow too. Hope so. Maybe you'd like to close your eyes and reflect. Does your work make you feel connected to the earth and its creatures, to life and other people? Does this church community of ours have a kind of work that's all its own? Does the work of this community make you feel connected to other communities? Maybe your church helps you feel more like the ox cart man than you might have realized when you first heard the story. Why is that? Why did church make you feel like that? It's because his work is holy. It's holy. There's a religious quality to everything about that industrious ox cart family. Their work may seem old-fashioned next to ours, but the work we do can have that same religious quality. You know what religion means, right? Obligation, bond, reverence. It's most likely from a Latin word, religare, that means to bind, to tie it all together, to make connections and to honor them. The lig part of religare, the lig part of that word is like what you hear in the word ligament. Not dead string or thread for stitching next to your harness, but a living kind of fiber that actively pulls it all together. All of it. Goose feathers, sheep's wool, flax, thread, taxes, and salt from the seas where life began its ongoing labor. So listen, Ronnie hopes he was able to top off your tank for the next leg of your journey, and that you'll go back on the road with your windows just a bit more clear. I thank you all for the work you do this year and the next. Work hard. Work well. Work alive and awake and aware that your work is holy. Now, Ronnie's got to take a break before he comes back for the next shift at 11. Blessed be.
Okay. Let's all stand and sing Blue Boat Home. Oh, below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now. Never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Thank you. And thank you, Todd, for your music as well. Our benediction this morning is a Hopi prayer. Hold on to what is good, even if it's a handful of earth. Hold on to what you believe, even if it's a tree that stands by itself. Hold on to what you must do, even if it's a long way from here. Hold on to your life, even if it's easier to let go. Hold on to my hand, even when I'm gone away from you. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.